and Ukraine. But for me, I just want us to have a deeper reflection on the way we relate to our neighbor, the next door neighbor, the family across the fence, the guy in the next flat. And this calls for us to live with amity with each other, especially in our relationship with one of us. So on that note, I wish to call this meeting to order. And I'll just take our mission statement. To provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which every member has the opportunity to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn foster self-confidence and personal growth. Thank you. I'll hand to the president to take up from here.
Okay.
Hello.
Thank you so much, Toastmasters Val, and good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining today's meeting. This is Pecten Toastmasters Club. I want to confirm if our president, Toastmaster Uche, is on the call. Toastmaster Uche?
Yes, I am on the call.
Okay,
I'm
we
just
will now
trying
hand
to make
over
sure my
to
camera
you
is...
for your opening remarks.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you so much and welcome everyone to the call. The theme for today's meeting is peace. And I would like to start by maybe sharing some of the reflections that I have when I think about the word and also in the context of the things that are happening right now in the world. Anytime my father calls me by the long version of my name, so a lot of people know me as Uche, but the long version is Uche Chuku. So when he calls me Uche Chuku Le Kamgwage, when he tells me he starts speaking a phrase in Igbo or in Igbo as it's called, it means he wants to tell me something really deep, something that he feels should stick, something I should never forget. So I'd, maybe want to ask folks on the call, everyone who is logged on to just help me translate the word peace to your dialect. Let's see what peace means in your dialect. What's the translation for peace in your dialect? So you can just go to the chat box and type in what peace is in your dialect. I'll be interested to hear alafia, udo, dokun, alafia. I hope I'm not pronouncing it wrongly. Maybe I could call on one or two people to probably pronounce it properly. Any other person? I've just seen two different meanings or translations of peace. There's Udo and Alafia, even though there are different spellings. But of course, when you are able to translate this to your local dialect, there's a higher chance that it may have a deeper meaning to you. But I would like to ask you, what does peace mean to you? To someone, it could mean taking a break from their peers or just taking a walk in the park. To another person, it could mean being able to eat their favorite food. I would take an example to be the Toastmaster Day. If she eats spaghetti, maybe that's peace for her. Peace means different things to different people. To someone in some parts of Nigeria, peace may be, the simple everyday things, being able to visit your neighbor's house, to be able to sell homemade yogurt at the local market and maybe earn enough money to send your 7 children to school. To someone in Ukraine today, peace could mean only one thing: stop the bombing. Peace means different things to different people. There are over 40 conflicts happening all over the world right now. And it makes me ask myself, where did we get it all wrong? And this is my personal reflection, that amongst many other things, we probably got it wrong in the upbringing of our children. Now, most of the warmongers in the world we know today, have what I would call a twisted childhood, characterized by entitlement, practicing the art of war in childhood by bullying and even being bullied. How do you train children What environment do you train them in? How do you raise them? How do you instill the basics of humanity and not distort their perception of love and care? In our family dealings, I'll urge every one of us here to teach our children to love one another. Teach them peace, that being peaceful and harmonious is the easiest existence. That peace brings a smile, to follow peace with all men and to put oneself, in the shoes of other people. I believe that this will spread the virus of love and peace. And as they say, little drops of water make an ocean. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Ukrainians as they go through this phase of history. And if you watch all over the news, you can see the horrific pictures and videos of what's happening there. Albert Einstein once said that peace is not the highest goal in life. It is the most fundamental requirement. So I bid you all to find peace today. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you so much, President Uche, for that very insightful speech, because that's a speech. I think I'm learning with Toastmasters that everyone likes speaking. And so every opportunity you get to talk is an opportunity we get to discuss with each other. And thank you all so much for joining us in today's meeting. Welcome to Pecten Toastmasters Club. And today our team is aptly themed, or our meeting is aptly themed peace. Yes, there's a lot going on in the world. There are some people who choose to be dismissive or refuse to see the reason why people seem to be very focused on war in this specific part of the world. But what most of us maybe sometimes forget is how war is everywhere. Even for those of us living in Nigeria, we continue to go through different kind of crises. I think I can even dare say there are some people on this call who might not be at amity with each other. There's a neighbor that you view with disdain. There's a colleague that you have very professional and sometimes private suspicions about. But in today's meeting, we are hoping that we would learn how to live better in peace and amity with each other. Now, one of the favorite things about Toastmasters is the fact that it teaches you not just how to lead and communicate, but also how to collaborate and work with different people. But a quote I like says, a Toastmaster wears many hats, but we never walk alone. Today's meeting is not going to be done or organized just by myself. I am serving as the Toastmaster of the day. My name is Toastmaster SA, but I would not be doing this role alone. In supporting this role, I am going to be having role players who are going to help me in ensuring that today's meeting is going to be a fantastic one. First on my list, I would be calling on each role player to explain their role and what they'll be doing today. And first on my list is our grammarian. Our grammarian today is Toastmaster Mina Allison. Toastmaster Mina Allison works as an environmentalist, and she is a member of the Pecten Toastmasters Club. She loves to read and dance, and her favorite quote is "Never regret anything that made you smile." Toastmaster Mina, the lectern is yours.
Thank you, Toastmaster AC. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
So my role today as a grammarian will be to pay close attention to all speakers, listen carefully to their use of language, and of course, I'll take note of all the proper or good use of language, and at the same time, outstanding words. So as grammarian, it is also my duty or responsibility to introduce to you the word of the day. So I am already excited that we have started using the word of the day, and the word of the day is amity. So it means mutual understanding and a peaceful relationship. I'll give 2 examples on how to use the word of the day. So number 1 example is, he was a good husband who lived in peace and amity with his wife. The second example is, may peace and amity be restored between Ukraine and Russia. So we have synonyms like cordiality, friendliness, benevolence, goodwill, and harmony. I implore all to please use the word of the day. And also at the end of the meeting, I'll give my report when called upon. Thank you, and over to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Mina. I think I can say that we all live in amity, at least those of us currently attending Pecten Toastmasters Club meeting. Every other person, wherever they are around the world, maybe they might be seeking amity. Maybe when they join us, they would definitely now feel or dwell in amity. Our next role player is going to be our president of Pecten Toastmasters Club, and he is Toastmaster Anabaronye Uche. His occupation is an occupational health practitioner, and he is the president of Pecten Toastmasters Club. He's currently on the persuasive influence pathway, and he loves reading nonfiction and watching documentaries. His favorite quote is an old saying that goes thus: all we get is time and choice. Be wise with both. Toastmaster Uche, kindly introduce your role to us.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the Day, Toastmaster SA, for introducing me so eloquently. My role is the account of the day, and what I'll be doing will just be to count. I'll be counting crutches and pause fillers that we'll be using during the call. I'll be counting things like the regular things that people do, like well. So I would also want to catch a few things like repeat words and some other pauses that maybe just be too long. The other thing I'll be doing will be to listen for, I'll be doing a listening challenge, kind of take a few things that people have said, say it back to you, and check if you can recall who said what. Any of the things I will be saying today. That'll be all from me. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Uche. And let us hope by the time you're giving your report, there will be amity and not discord, because people might assume they did not use as much filler words as you would claim. Our next role player is supposed to be our timer, but unfortunately he has to step out. I would be double hatting as the timer, and I would be using cue cards to indicate time. If it comes to when I have to speak, Toastmaster Tosin would help in timing me. And next we have our speech evaluators. Our first speech evaluator is Toastmaster Oluwatosin Olorunleke. His occupation is a procurement engineer, and he is the Vice President Education for Oil City Speakers Club. He is currently on the Strategic Relationships pathway, and his hobby is playing football. His favorite quote: whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right. Toastmaster Tosin would introduce himself because he's also double hatting as our table topics master. So Toastmaster Tosin, kindly introduce your role to us today.
Good evening, everyone, fellow Toastmasters and guests. This evening, I will be the table topics master as well as a speech evaluator. I'll introduce what I'll be doing, or introduce the expectations of the speaker when she's about to speak. But as your table topics master, I have a set of questions which I will be presenting, and I would simply like to encourage each and every one of us to participate, because it helps, if not with anything else, with our critical thinking skills. So I look forward to your participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Tosin, and we look forward to hearing your evaluations. Next, we have the role of the table topics evaluator, and that would be played by our Vice President Public Relations, Toastmaster Ekuchi Joy James. She's a member of the Pecten Toastmasters Club and currently on the Dynamic Leadership pathway. Toastmaster Joy loves traveling, spending time with family, and watching interesting shows. And interestingly, her favorite quote, just like Toastmaster Oluwatosin, is whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And it's a quote from renowned industrialist Tom Ford. Toastmaster Joy, kindly come on the lectern to explain your role.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster SA. It's interesting, actually, when I heard Toastmaster Tosin, when I heard you say Toastmaster Tosin's favorite quote, I was like, okay, I think now Toastmaster Tosin and I should live in AMITY, knowing fully well that we have the same best quote or favorite quote. Thank you. So today I'll be handling the role of table topics evaluator. My job is to evaluate everyone that comes on here to give an impromptu speech. I will also be taking notes so I could give objective feedback on how everyone has taken up this task with the mindset that it's the first time for most of the people that are here, actually our guests. So I won't be too critical. I'll make sure that I am objective and constructive in my evaluation. So please, I'd like to encourage everyone to come on and feel free to give impromptu speeches. It's a form of training for everyone. Thank you. Back to you, Toastmaster today.
Thank you, Toastmaster Joy, our table topics evaluation. We absolutely look forward to your evaluations. Next on the list, the last but not the least, is the general evaluator, and that is Toastmaster David Dokun. He said he's a coach, a speaker, and a trainer. He is currently on the effective coaching pathway and is a member of the OES Toastmasters Club. Toastmaster David loves reading, walking, watching football, and lawn tennis. His favorite quote is by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow and goes thus: "The heights by great men, reached and kept, were not attained by sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, were toiling upwards in the night." Toastmaster David, kindly come on the lectern to explain your role.
Thank you for the warm introduction, Toastmaster SA, Toastmaster morning, wherever you're listening today, Toastmasters and guests. As your general evaluator today, I'm the inspector. I will be listening to participants, role players, and I'll be looking out for things that should happen based on the end. In addition to that, I'm looking out for proper preparation, organization, delivery, enthusiasm, show of amity, and at the end of the show, we come and give feedback on what we've done well, what we could do better, and how we can make Pecten Toastmasters, and indeed everyone on this call today, a better version of themselves. Thank you for having me, and I'll be back at the end of the show with my team to give you feedback. Back to you, Toastmasters.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster David, for that very succinct report. It seems sometimes that there's a glitch. So chances are when you're giving your general evaluation, would reconfirm. And if we can hear you clearly, if we don't hear you clearly, you might have to disable your video. But we can see you clearly, and we're very glad to have you serve as our GE in today's meeting. You know, the message of today is peace and amity. So one thing we do in Toastmasters, a Toastmasters meeting, we are here to learn how we communicate, speak, and give feedback, and also receive feedback. In today's meeting, it is going to be divided into 3 sections. The first is our manual speech. This is where people on the Toastmasters pathway come and give prepared speeches where whatever they present to us, they would receive evaluations from their evaluators. Now, these evaluations are not just for the speakers, but also for us, the listeners. So as we go on our own pathways, as we give speeches, we learn to incorporate them into ours. And then next, we would have the table topic session. That is a session where we would have people speak off the cuff. Don't worry, there's going to be AMITY in today's table topic session. I know, in fact, a little bird has whispered to me that the topics are going to be very interesting. It is going to tug at your heart and make you feel that you're dwelling in amity with everyone around you. And lastly would be the evaluation session. The last role player who was introduced, Toastmaster David, is going to help us, and him with his tag team would give us evaluations on everything that's happened in this meeting. Can we all put our hands together for the Toastmaster of the day, because she's ensuring that we dwell in amity and understand everything happening. Because I feel like this crowd is looking tough. Okay, I can see Toastmaster Joy, Toastmaster David, Toastmaster Uche, Toastmaster Tari. Thank you so much. I want to ensure that we have men. In fact, I'm going to do something I learned from Toastmaster David. If you know that in your heart of hearts, you want to be at AMITY with your loved ones, I want to see you put 8 on the chat box, 8 of food. If you know you want to dwell in AMITY with your loved ones, there are some people that don't want to. But if you know you want to dwell in AMITY with your loved ones, put 8. Thank you, Toastmaster David. I've seen an 8. 8 of food. 8 of food. Thank you, Toastmaster Tari. 20. This is how we know people who follow food. Thank you, Toastmaster Joy. Exactly. I know my people. I know those of us that would dwell in AMITY. And let's hope that for even those of us who are, thank you, OYNDD, those maybe who are too shy or are maybe calling it in their minds, we know that you continue to dwell in AMITY. Thank you for attending and joining us in today's meeting. Now, we'll be moving on to the first part of the meeting, which is our manual speeches. As I mentioned earlier, where speakers would give prepared speeches. Our first manual speaker is going to be Toastmaster Folusho Amblamina. Toastmaster Folu is a consultant public health physician. She also works as an occupational health physician. She's a mental health advocate and acronym queen. She loves globetrotting, photography, voracious reading, deep conversations with real people, and exotic chocolate and perfume. Her superpowers are a very keen sense of observation, knack for naming things on the go, and avid listening. She's the immediate past president of Pecten Club Toastmasters and is currently on the dynamic leadership pathway. Her favorite quote, in brackets, one of, "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication," and it is by renowned artist Leonardo da Vinci. Toastmaster Folu is going to be evaluated by Toastmaster Oluwatosin Olorunleke. I would now hand over the lectern to him to introduce Toastmaster Folu.
Hello once again, everyone. Today, Toastmaster Folu will be completing her project, which is titled Prepare to Speak Professionally. Prepare to Speak Professionally. Essentially, the purpose of this project is for her to practice developing and presenting a longer speech. So essentially, we're expecting her to deliver a keynote style speech, which should be engaging. Aside that, we also expect to see her demonstrate excellent presentation skills and also compelling content. I'm pretty sure that she's going to smash this out of the park, because if you're like me and you've seen Toastmaster Folusho deliver a speech before, you'd know for a fact that we're in for a wonderful time. On that note, I would like to invite Toastmaster Folusho to deliver her speech titled Parenting by Design or Default. Parenting by Design or Default. Toastmaster Folusho.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Tosin. Toastmaster Ese, please confirm I can share. Am I enabled to share? All right, great. Great, please confirm you can see my screen now. All right.
Yes, we can.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the Day. There are very few jobs that you get hired for without paper qualifications. There are very few opportunities that are rewarding as they are challenging. There are very few joys that come with sleepless nights, soiled, soggy diapers, and tough love. Parenting is not a job per se, but I would say that parenting exemplifies on-the-job training. As you have heard in my bio, I wear many hats, and my slide before you shows that as well. In this context, one of the hats I wear is that of a parent. Parenting by design or by default. Should we parent actively or passively? Should we parent intentionally or leave it to chance? Tell me, what comes to your mind when you hear the word parent? Please feel free to blow up the chat box with your responses. I'm waiting. Blow up the chat box for me. What comes to your mind? Who is a parent? As you can see, the parents on my screen are having a there. Not an easy question. and of course, a nail-biting moment as well. So yeah, so I need some responses from you. Okay, I hear parenting is tough. That's right, a forever career. Lovely, I like that. Anyone who gives money, oh my goodness, Essie, you again. Right, so I've got a few definitions, if you like, of who is a parent from my little research. So let's do this. Okay. It said that a parent is a caregiver. A parent is also a caretaker. So what's common to these two words? The answer is clear for all to see: care. They give care. I wouldn't say they take care, but I would say they take care of. Of course, they receive care in the process. A parent is also a steward. Who is a steward? A steward is someone who manages something in their care, who takes care of something, who supervises, and who should be accountable, because someone has given you something to steward and you would have to give account of it. And lastly, and deliberately so, a parent is one who brings forth. Now, do not be deceived by that fourth bullet, because you do not have to bring forth to be a parent. You might be wondering, what's my business with parenting? I still have quite a few years. Maybe not. You will be shocked. Can I tell you something? I was age 15 or 16, thereabouts, somewhere between 15 and 16, when I started attending parenting and marriage seminars. Yes, you got that right. 15, 16. You're probably wondering in the crowd, everybody was like, what's this little girl doing here? Well, guess what? Those early years of what I call seed sowing have truly helped. You know what they say, so early. So when it's time to harvest, you will be smiling to the farm or to the bank in this case. Now we know who a parent is. A lot of you joining this meeting, I'm sure you have some really nice looking smart devices. And those smart devices must have come with either an operations manual or a quick smart guide, or those sort of things that guide you on how to use your devices. But guess what? Children do not come with operating manuals. Each child is different. I do not want you to look at children as mini people, tiny little ones, Lilliputians and what have you. See them as individuals, because that's who they are. They've got emotions, they've got ideas, they've got dreams, and everything else that you have. Each child is different. And so as parents, we give equal opportunity to children, but guess what? The outcome will be different. There is no one size fits all approach, because they are different, so you need to approach them differently. But I would like to say that there are a few cross-cutting tools. Parenting doesn't come with a toolbox, but guess what? Let's talk about a metaphorical toolbox. What is in your parenting toolbox? You heard in my bio when it was said that I'm the queen of acronyms. So please relax, you will be getting some acronyms in this meeting. Right, so I've got here a nice little toolbox with spanners and the works. There are 4 E's that are intricately braided into these tools. And here they are: environment, experience, education, and exposure. By environment, I'm not referring just to the physical, the structures you see around. While that is good, because it's great to bring children up in a decent environment, there is also the psychosocial, the soft part of the environment, the interactions. Is that environment loving and nurturing? Because a child that is brought up in that sort of environment would generally do better, for a start. Experience. What sort of memories are you creating? What sort of memories would they have? A lot of times when my children are on holidays, right now, by the way, I'm in the empty nest phase of my life, because they've all left home, they're in school. So when they're on holidays, I actually look forward to their holidays because there's always a lot to do. When they're on holidays, my husband and I are intentional about creating memories, because guess what? The stories that we tell them now about our childhood is what they will tell their children about their childhood. Experience. Education. Now, this must not happen in the 4 walls of a building or an institution. Education goes on the go, formally and informally. And of course, exposure. What are you exposing them to, locally and globally? There are various parenting styles, but the most popular model, I would say, there are four of them. The most popular model has four of them. There is the authoritative, the authoritarian, excuse me, yep, the permissive, and the uninvolved parent. Now, similar to temperaments, there are no pure samples. I'm sure you understand what I mean. We know about the temperaments, but each of us as parents would have a predominant style. I'll just quickly take you through the styles and then we will go on from there. The top left quadrant, authoritative parent, is nurturing and affectionate. This parent sets healthy boundaries because with children, you need to have boundaries. And then the parent disciplines with guidance. Note, discipline is different from punishing. And there is open communication. So this sort of parent says, your view matters. Can we discuss this? Can we talk about this? They come up with ideas, you do not toss it out, but you discuss. Remember I said they were individuals, they're entities of their own. That's the authoritative parent. That's how that parent handles things. High control, high warmth. On the other hand, the authoritarian parent, note the difference, tative-tarian. The authoritarian parent is like the headmaster. I say this is it, my way or the highway. Strict, inflexible expectations are tearing the roof. Punishment reigns supreme. And then that essentially becomes what? A tiger mom or a tiger dad. Bottom left, the permissive parent is just almost like a phlegmatic, oh, whatever works for you is fine. No, children need structure. There has to be some form of control. There has to be some boundaries. But the permissive parent says, oh, I love you. Everything goes, whatever you want, and all of that. Bottom right, the uninvolved parent. The uninvolved parent is essentially laissez-faire, unengaged, uninvolved, do whatever you want, emotionally detached, no boundaries, little interaction. And that quadrant really is not parenting, because if you're not there, then where are you? Right. Just as we have seasons, dry, the wet, the winter, the summer, the autumn, and the spring, we also have seasons of parenting. Transitions, metamorphoses, all of these take place in our life cycle. And bonding starts from the early days. So do not think, oh, this child is just a baby. If I'm not around, they wouldn't know. No, there's something about children, and they're so sensitive. I think we don't give them enough credit. The seasons of parenting, as they morph from infancy to toddler to the childhood age, and then the preteens, and then of course the teens, and they're pretty much on their own. You have to also morph as an adult, as a parent, you also have to morph. There's a period where you're guiding, you're the confidant, you're a coach, you're an advisor, you're a cheerleader. You cannot insist on certain things at certain times, because guess what? As they're growing, they're learning, they're getting wiser, they need to make their own mistakes as well. So you guide, you counsel, you don't force anything down their truth. Remember the authoritative parent. It was Matthew Jacobson who said, behind every young child who believes in himself is a parent who believed first. Bonding starts in the early days. Believe in your children from the get-go. Let's look at a few reflections. I'd like you to just think about this. You could pop in comments as the thoughts brew in your mind. How well do you know your child? Is your child two-faced? The child in school, is that the same child when you go to their school and they say, oh, Michael's mommy is here. You know, I go to pick Michael up and, oh, Michael's mommy is here. Does someone pull me aside and say, oh, your son is like this and like that? And I'm like, no, that's not my Michael. Or is Michael the same at home and in school? How well do you know your child? Who are they? What self-identity do they have? What's their self-esteem and their self-image like? You might have heard of the Johari window, which applies to every human indeed. There is the open self, that is the self that everyone knows. You know, others know. Self That is the self that others know, but you don't know. And then there is the hidden self that you keep to yourself and others do not know. And then there is the unknown self that neither you nor others know. So for children, we need to also look through the Johari window. Do you know their love language? Now, don't tell me love language is just for adults. Sorry, I beg to differ. The 5 love languages, I'll just remind you of them: quality time, acts of service, words of affirmation, gifts, and physical touch. You would notice, like I have 3 children, Michael, Daniel, and Adriel. They have different love languages, I can tell you. My last son is a hugger, like that guy can hug for Africa. His language is predominantly physical touch, and I know that. Michael is a different person altogether. Daniel, acts of service. Michael, words of affirmation. But guess what? They were all from my loins, and they've all been exposed to the same environment. Remember what I said: equal opportunities, different outcomes. Know their love language. What life skills are you exposing them to? We hear about 21st century skills and so on. What are you to? We cannot be helicopter parents, protecting, hovering, and making sure that nothing comes near them. Guess what? Sometimes they have to have a few bruises here and there, heal from them, have a few scars, and then those scars will be like what? Scars of war. Not entirely bad. Right. How are you equipping them for the future? Locally and globally, they have to be relevant. Skills such as emotional intelligence, resilience, critical thinking, creativity, innovation, digital fluency. Our children cannot be hidden under a bushel. They need to know what is going on so they can stand tall, head and shoulders above in the global world. Who are their role models? I remember when Michael was in secondary school and they had to fill this yearbook thing. And so I got a hold of his yearbook. I love to read yearbooks. I find them really funny. So the line where they asked role model, Michael wrote mom and dad. And I grinned. I was quite happy. I was like, okay, we're not doing badly, because I saw all kinds of names, in the yearbook. And I was like, wow, this says something, that he's actually seen something worth emulating. And that was quite encouraging, I must tell you. So let us groom our children to be now and fit for the future. They have been born at such a time that we call them digital natives. They were born right into it. We need to teach them to see, because there is massive information overload that can be overwhelming. The sheer enormity can be overwhelming. Multiplicity of stimuli, and they need to see. We often hear about software. We talk about software updates and what have you, but I'm here to tell you there's such a thing called mindware update. Oh, I made that up, by the way. You remember, as I said, I name things on the go. Yes, so this is one of them. As we install software, as we uninstall software, as we update, we need to do the same for our minds, the minds of our children. They need to learn, unlearn, and relearn certain things, because their mental health is key. We need to affirm them. As you're affirming, as you're praising, catch them doing something good. Let it not only be criticism. Catch them doing something good. Affirm, praise. Guess what? You are installing certain software in their minds that they would carry throughout life. Self-talk, conditioning. Let us build their character, one brick upon another. Character for aptitude. You might see a child who's getting all A's or A stars. A child that's getting all A stars should have character as well to complement it. If all they've got is A stars and they are rude, they don't care about people, they don't value people, then there is a problem. They need to do some learning. The current generation of children we have are co-creators. They love to be empowered, they love to co-create. The kind of conversations I have with my children these days, we don't, it's not a top-bottom thing at all. It is a two-way dialogue, because guess what? You learn a whole lot from them. As the acronym queen, I have another acronym for you, and that is parenting, spelled parenting. Be present, spend time with them. They value your presence above your presents, your gifts. Be aware, because you can nip things in the bud quite easily and early when you do. Reassurance, you are their first Google, please. Don't say, oh, we cannot talk about sex education. Please start it early. And as they grow, then modify your message to suit the age. I usually start sex education with my children pretty early. They're all boys, so we start that conversation. E for emotional availability, be there for them. Be there for them. Soft skills, be there fully, spirit, soul, and body. N for nurture or non-judgmental listening. Create a safe space that you can be confident they can come to tell you even the most unprintable and embarrassing things. Time management, create a structure because they need a structure. Inspire them, be their role model. It's often said that children hear with their eyes and not their ears. Children hear with their eyes and not their ears. So you cannot say one thing and do another. And for needs, be sensitive to their needs, provide support. And of course, G, give. Give of your time, your talent, your treasure. Don't just be known as a guru in the office. Oh, you can do this, you can do that, you can do that. And then at home, nobody knows anything about what you can do. There's something we do at home, my kids, my husband, my kids and I, we do it whenever they're on holidays, and we call it family bonding session. There can be a nicer name, but for now, that's what we call it. What happens is each person teaches everyone something, and we set it up like a mini workshop. It's actually something interesting, and everyone, whoever is billed to deliver on that day, you would know ahead of time, and then you put your slides together, you put your materials together, you make it fun and engaging. You even have to incorporate games and gifts and all kinds of funny things, but we do it every holiday. And with that, we have learned so much. I have learned web development. I've learned all kinds of things. One of my sons is a Canva guru. He taught everyone how to make Canva posters and so on. So each holiday, we learn all kinds of things, and that is really good and something they look forward to it. Lewis Hart said, the golden rule of parenting is to do unto your children as you wish your parents had done unto you. Remember the law of sowing and reaping. Teach them the love of lifelong learning. Teach them to lead and to be that leader others will want to follow. Teach them to follow and to be that follower every leader will trust and be happy to lead. Teach them the paradox of failure, of mistakes, of success, and of victory. Teach them a heart of service and an attitude of gratitude. Beyond teaching them, model these things. Remember, children hear with their eyes and not their ears. While you're busy teaching them, parenting will also be teaching you. Parenting will teach you patience. It will teach you selflessness, and it will teach you care. Remember at the start, I said care was at the core of parenting. Now, having said all this, there will be times when as a parent, no matter what you think you know, you will feel lost, puzzled, confused, perplexed, unclear, and you might drift off course. My home, I see my home as a laboratory where we try out all kinds of things, experiment, and then we come up with, oh, proof of concept. Well, we don't call it that, but you know what, we try out all kinds of things and we're like, okay, this works, this doesn't. So feel free to make mistakes as a parent. But by all means, get help, get support, get advice, and get guidance. In every journey, we like to envision the destination. So I ask you, what sort of adult do you envision? I've tossed in a few acronyms again. Do you envision an adult that is caring, confident, and capable? An adult that is daring, disciplined, and decisive? Let us build with the end in mind. That was Steve Covey's book when he said, start with the end in mind. Every child comes with what I call the seed of greatness. Congenital means present. Show that congenital seed of greatness and watch it bloom. Remember, every phase has its ups and downs. Enjoy it. Sue Aitken said, there is no such thing as a perfect parent, just be a real one. I enjoined all of you to join me, to groom, to nurture, the next generation of humans that add value, that are world changers, that value people, that respect humans, and that are difference makers. Let us be intentional parents. Let us parent by design, one child at a time. Thank you. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Fulu. I think I want to say that not only am I feeling more motivated to be a parent, in fact, maybe I also have some interesting conversations I should go and have with my mom. Very fantastic speech, but again, please, if you know you've enjoyed this speech, I need you to drop your love, what we call love notes. You can give feedback, positive feedback only on the chat box. All critics or criticism, either send via private DM or wait until after her evaluator has given her his evaluations. Any other thing you think would really help in that fantastic presentation. If you decide you want to test the AMITY waters, DM away too. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Fulu, for that very amazing, amazing speech. Our next speaker is going to be Toastmaster Essay. But Toastmaster Essay is going to be evaluated by Toastmaster Tari. Toastmaster Tari at DBC is a consultant family physician and occupational health physician. She is currently the Vice President Education for Pecten Toastmasters Club, and she is on the presentation mastery pathway. She loves traveling, spending quiet evenings at home, counseling, and reading. Her favorite quote is by renowned politician Margaret Thatcher and says, "Being powerful is like being a lady. If you have to tell people you are, you aren't." Interesting, our ideas about power, especially in these times when the world does not seem to understand what AMITY means. Toastmaster Tari, kindly come on the lectern to introduce the next speaker.
Okay, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Essay, please get a cup of water or something. Take a drink now. The next speech we're going to hear is a speech by our Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Essay Ogene Okerika. Essay Ogene Okerika is a writer, and just wait for this, a professional enjoyment baby girl. How does someone even describe herself as that? Her hobbies are reading, eating free in quotes, delicious food, and exploring creative works. She's a member of Pecten Toastmasters, of course. She's on the visionary communication pathway, and this speech will be her project 1 in level 4. The title of her speech will be Hybrid Living. Essay's favorite quote is, "You are all the colors in one at full brightness." And that's a quote by Jennifer Niven in the book, All the Bright Places. So what's the purpose of this particular speech she's given? The purpose of this particular speech is for Essay to practice the skills needed to effectively communicate change to a group such as this or an organization. So I'm going to watch out for everything Essay is going to say, her mannerisms, her words, her vocal clarity, and at the end of it all, we will return back and give an evaluation that I hope will help Essay. So back to you, Toastmaster Essay Ogene Okerika. Such great display of AMITY we are having. Back to you, take it away.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction, Toastmaster Tari. So remember that you must stand up when you're delivering your speech, else you would be disqualified. Eh? What? Eh, wait, oh, ha. Scenario. It's the dry run prep for division contest, and the professional baby girl Toastmaster Essay is competing with her for her club. And she's getting the rules from the contest chairs when she hears, "Oh yes, you must stand up because according to the International Toastmasters guidelines, they recommend that we try to be as realistic and reasonable as possible to ensure people give their speech using all the mannerisms and cues we recommend. And the best we can for virtual meetings is stand up to give your speech." Now, I have spent over a year working and connecting remotely. Most of all my Toastmasters presentations, as you see right now, is me virtually, connecting remotely, and giving speeches. And now after mastering the habit of a chair bencher, you know, using all the right hand gestures when talking physically, someone comes to tell me I have to stand to give a speech. I was thrown off. I can't even deny. It made me nervous. I was already panicking. Oh my God, I have to start. How can I angle my camera? Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I am Essie Ogene-Okereka, serving as the Club Growth Director for Area 23, of which this club, Pecten Toastmasters, belongs. And as part of supporting the growth of clubs, today, I'm giving a speech on presenting a new benefit. Some might not think it's a benefit, but in the love and message of AMITY, trust me, it is. What's that benefit? Changing how Pecten Toastmasters Club holds their meeting, moving their location from fully virtual to hybrid living. According to Merriam-Webster, hybrid is defined in the adjective form as having two different types of components that perform essentially the same function. And in the context of this change I'm presenting, I'm saying, let's change how we connect. Specifically, Pecten Toastmasters Club, it's time in the forthcoming months that we connect physically and virtually. Let's join those two components. You can join via your tech device if you want, as I am doing today, or face-to-face. See people smile real time. I know some might ask, why hybrid meeting? What are the benefits? Please, I like just being in my house on my own. I don't want stress. Barack Obama, former United States president, says, change will not come if we wait for some other person or if we wait for some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change. There are numerous positive outcomes and benefits that make the case for us going through this transition. First is the professional value. One thing about Toastmasters is you get to build your experience and your expertise. There's no denying that. But the thing about collaborations that makes it very important is when we make it more accessible, and physical and face-to-face connections allow for that. You get to connect with members and guests. You get to have casual conversations, not maybe our 5-10 minute breakout sessions or the how are you we have before the call. No, even as simple as walking after the meeting means you would connect and take up vital information through in-person, informal conversations. It is not the same thing as connecting just virtually. Secondly, fluid cooperation. One thing that is critical for our members' growth is how we optimize their outcomes. And hybrid gives that choice for those who learn better from face-to-face and not just virtually. No man is an island. The truth is some people would connect more easily when it is face-to-face. They find themselves more productive in physical environments, while others are more productive in virtual environments. And then the Toastmaster experience sometimes can seem isolating if you do not know what you're doing or do not have the right support. One thing hybrid meetings will do is give people who might not feel comfortable connecting virtually a chance to actually speak to people and get maybe the right question. How can I help? And then, of course, there's the refreshments. I have been privileged to attend club meetings where they are already doing hybrid meetings. And other than the allure of getting to connect, getting to be more efficient, there are the refreshments and networking and even extra evaluations members get to receive. Some might argue and say, this seems like a lot of work. But you know what? There's a popular Nigerian palace that says, follow who know road. And 2 sister clubs are already doing that. The Garden City Toastmasters Club and the Oil Cities Club have already started holding hybrid meetings. And as someone who has attended those meetings, it took time for them to fine tune, but now it is almost seamless. And imagine when we ask them for help, I know I can say for free that the ESCO and members are willing to provide any support we need in terms of logistics or even in location for us to move towards hybrid meetings. A hybrid life puts the most important things first. And according to lifestyle blog, The Good Men Project in 2012, a hybrid lifestyle can maximize dual sides of our personalities or obligations. We know that it might take a bit of mental adjustment, but for us as Pecten Toastmasters Club to triumph, especially in this post-pandemic environment, we have to provide value for everybody, be it those who connect virtually or physically. We might have concerns about transportation or even flexibility and access that virtual meetings tend to provide. But trust me, the price of access can be altered. Albert Einstein says, the world we have created is a process of our thinking. It cannot be changed without us changing our thinking. Maybe it might seem harder, but I am hoping that we would be able to transition to this hybrid living. I look forward to us, say by Q2, taking the hybrid route. Of course, I'm not going to do it alone. There are some time frames we are hoping that would aid this smooth transition. We've had an ESCO that whose Toastmaster tenure is going to round up in July, and we are yet to all connect face to face. I want to see my president face to face. I want to shake his hand and tell him well done for what they've been doing thus far. I only know my VPPRO because she's always connecting with me virtually. I want to connect with her and smile and tell her, well done, I like what you're doing. And then when we start a new Toastmasters year, imagine if we connect every quarter, say Q1, Q2, Q3. I am not saying all our meetings must be hybrid. We can start, target one per quarter, and I think we'll be on our way to living the hybrid life. I think it's time we make that change. Pecten Toastmasters, when we think of the fact that we would able to collaborate better, would provide time-efficient ways for people to network and learn, what are we waiting for? Seasoned Toastmasters Wayne says, examine the labels you apply to yourself. Every label is a boundary or limit you will not let yourself cross. Pecten Toastmasters, what labels are we giving ourselves? Do we think we can be limited? Hybrid living is the new norm. And until we learn how to meet the rapidly changing demands of the world today, we would not move forward. So it's time for hybrid living. Aren't you excited? Thank you.
So I'll be Toastmaster of the day for like 5 seconds so you could catch your breath. Do you have a cup of water around you? Do you have juice? Thank you. All right, Essie, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Toastmaster Uche. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone. This officially brings us to the end of our manual sessions. Just to confirm, so I'm sure we're doing well with time. Okay, it is now time for, we were supposed to have our breakout session, but again, because of time management, we would want to do something informal where if we have any guests on the call, they can just introduce themselves very briefly. Just tell us your name, how you heard about the club, and what you look forward to in subsequent meetings. Don't know if there's anyone willing to just unmute a guest. If this is your first time joining us today, would like to meet you. That Toastmasters is also about connecting and networking. If you're not comfortable unmuting, you can put it on the chat box. Just, is anyone willing to share or connect? A guest, we would like to hear the voice of a guest. We know many of our erudite Toastmasters.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Abiodun. Yes, we can. Kindly go ahead. Yes, we can.
Okay. All right. Good evening. Happy to be in this meeting. I've joined before, but it was towards the end of the meeting, and I really enjoyed it. My name is Abiodun Jenkoru or Juliana Jenkoru, depending on where you met me. I was and I really enjoyed the 2 sessions so far. So thank you.
Wow.
I'm done.
Thank you so much, Abiodun, for joining. And I hear you say you've come before and this is your second time. So obviously you love the AMITY we share here, so you keep coming back. And I am already looking forward to your icebreaker speech. Thank you so much for coming. It's nice to connect with you. And please, you can always drop your contact details. There's a WhatsApp group and there's also a mailing list. So in case you want to connect either of those ways, please, you can privately chat me or any of the executives. In fact, you can even give it in the general chat box. We already like your name, so we all want to connect with you. Thank you for joining. Do we have any other guests willing to share? Okay. I think for time management, we will now be moving on to the second part of our table topics session. Table topics is one time when you get to learn to speak off the cuff. I do not need to go into much details. I would just be handing off to someone who I like to believe we dwell in amity together, Toastmaster Oluwatosin Olorunleke. The lectern is yours for table topics session.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster SA, speaker and Toastmaster of the day. Today, I said earlier that I would be your table topics master. And what's the table topic segment essentially? We have a couple of questions. Today, I actually have quotes. And what's expected is, I want volunteers. I would love to have volunteers. If you know we are in AMITY, kindly volunteer for, a topic, and I would give you one. So you're expected to speak for a minimum of 1 minute and a maximum of 2 minutes. So kindly keep your eyes on the chat box. At 1 minute, the timer would indicate green, meaning you can end or round up your speech if you want. At yellow, or at 1 minute, 30 seconds, you'd see yellow, meaning you're nearing the end of the time allotted to you. And at red, you've used up your time and you have 30 seconds to round off your speech. So, like I said, I have quotes today. I actually have 5 quotes. We'll be taking just 3 speakers because of time. And what's going to happen is I'll give you the names of the people who have made this quote. So when you volunteer, you select a name and I'll give you the quote and you speak on it. Who's the first volunteer? The names I have are Mother Teresa, Vincent van Gogh, Albert Einstein, Albert Camus, and Virginia Woolf. So you volunteer, pick a name, I'll give you a quote and you speak on it. I didn't mention, but I also have power to pick people. So if I see your face and I like it and you have not volunteered, I'll just call you. Thank you. All right. Because of time, I think I'll need to pick someone. Toastmaster Chizaram, would you be interested in answering a question? Doesn't seem so. Toastmaster Val, you were a sergeant at arms and I liked your voice, so I want to hear you speak again. Do you mind taking a question? I promise my questions come in amity. They are not going to, they are not violent. Just be open and I'm sure you'd enjoy it. Toastmaster Gloria. Mr. President, I'm sorry, I have to pick someone I know will answer me.
All right. Okay, no problem. I'll take Albert Einstein then.
Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein is a
Albert
theoretical
Einstein.
physicist. And the quote I have for you is, peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. Peace cannot be kept by force.
Did we lose Tosin there? Am I audible? Can anyone hear me?
I can hear you, Toastmaster Uche.
Okay, please can you repeat the quote? I didn't hear all you said.
Okay, peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. Peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding.
Thank you so much. Peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. What comes to mind to me would be understanding, or rather I would think about a situation between a husband and a wife. Now, it is common knowledge, or at least a lot of people know this, that men are from Venus and women are from Mars. What it means is that they're from different worlds. Even though a lot of recent, leanings just make us lose that effect that we're actually different. And so sometimes men think a little bit differently, while women think, another way. And I'll tell you something a friend of mine told me, that men have their brains like rice and women like spaghetti. So for women, everything is in one place, while for men, they are scattered all over. And if you bring rice and spaghetti together, sometimes it's difficult for you to have a good mix. And in fact, I don't even think people eat rice and spaghetti together unless you have a twisted, palate. Now, to the meat of the matter. Sometimes a woman could be telling you, leave me alone, but what she's saying is, hold me. And with just understanding that conflict of her telling you, leave me alone, because if you take it literally and leave her alone, you'll probably be taking her into a place where there'll be a lot of conflict. But by just understanding that when she says, leave me alone, she's saying, please hug me, please hold me, please don't let me go. With that simple understanding, you have been able to solve that conflict. And like Albert Einstein said, and I can't remember exactly, peace comes from understanding. Thank you. Back to you, Tosin.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Uche, for driving home that point. Peace indeed comes from understanding. We'll quickly move on to the next volunteer, or in this case, person I will pick. And I'll be picking people I'm sure are in AMITY with me, so please don't fall my hand when I call on you. Toastmaster Tari, I know you're evaluating a speech, but please, I'd love to hear your voice, if you don't mind.
Toastmaster Tosin, but why? Why?
Because we're in AMITY.
Oh my goodness, go ahead. I can't remember all the names you called out. You may have to repeat.
I'll repeat them, don't worry. So we have Mother Teresa, we have Vincent Van Gogh, we have Albert Camus, and we have Virginia Woolf.
I'll go with Mother Teresa. I think that's the most known to me.
Oh.
Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
Peace begins with a smile. Peace begins with a smile.
Peace begins with a smile. Good evening, Toastmasters and guests. Have you ever been in a place or in a situation where someone has really made you upset? So upset, you lose your temper, you're screaming at the top of your voice. Or if you're like me, when very upset, you're actually crying and can't even utter a word. It happens occasionally, not too often. But have you ever been in that position? And someone comes to you, walks up to you and tries to broker peace. Now, if you're like me and I'm in that state, you better watch how you approach, because you just may get what you didn't bargain for. There was a time I had an altercation with someone. That was way back in secondary school. And even though I was the one wronged, I was the one crying. And I remember a much senior student, but classmate of mine, walked up to me and held me by the shoulders and took me away. And she didn't say a word. But when I looked up at her, wondering why is she holding me and not saying anything, all I saw on her face was a smile. And that totally just melted my heart. And she gave me time to calm down. And then she began to speak to me in a voice that was soothing. At the end of the day, I was willing to listen because she started off with a smile. She didn't start off with attacking me for what I did wrong or even attacking the other person in my own defense. But that smile just sort of melted my heart and made me want to listen more. Peace begins with a smile. It doesn't always have to be words. It doesn't always have to be even an action. Just smiling at that person can actually turn the person's whole attitude around and ensure that that person actually listens to the voice of reason. So when I hear peace begins with a smile, I can actually relate. Indeed, a smile may be worth much more than 1,000 words. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Tari. See why I called upon you. Such a wonderful story. Thank you very much for answering. And finally, I think I'll just leave the floor open once more because this is the last slot. So do we have a volunteer, or should I call one of my friends again, who is playing a role, I must say? All right, Mr. General Evaluator. You know I love your smile, so please. Toastmaster David. Toastmaster David, you're muted.
Oh, did you call my name?
Oh, yes, I did. I called General Evaluator, then I called your name, Toastmaster David. So it's you.
Okay.
All right, Toastmaster David. We have Vincent Van Gogh, we have Albert Camus, and we have Virginia Woolf. Which would you like?
Let's go with Virginia Woolf.
Virginia Woolf.
Yes.
You cannot find peace by avoiding life. You cannot find peace by avoiding life.
Wow. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. You cannot find peace by avoiding life. So this brings to mind, I share a weekly newsletter with my email audience. And this brings to mind something I just shared yesterday, which is about the fact that life is really all about defense and offense. We live in a society or a place where most people are comfortable with playing defense. You don't want to offend Toastmaster Kuchi. You want to be in amity with Toastmaster Ese so she can share her food. And we're all happy to coast along without stepping on toes. However, what I find is that in life, we must be able to find that balance where we consistently broach situations with the options of, do I need to adjust or accept, rather than just consistently avoid? Because the leaning of most people is to avoid, which is what the quote is saying, that you cannot necessarily find peace by avoiding life, right? So you need to ask yourself each time, how do I confront this situation? Sometimes, like they say, and for those who are football lovers, the best form of defense is attack. So you don't necessarily go through life thinking all will be well if you stay back, all will be well if you avoid that conversation. Sometimes you need to face it head on. And in closing, I'll make reference to a point in my career where I was about to be fired from my job because of a boss who was not happy with me. And I was subdued on that role to the extent that I began to underperform. But the day I confronted that boss and I said to her in the face, "Madam, what's your problem with me? I know I'm a star performer. This has to stop." And I knew I was putting my job on the line, but I confronted her. I said, "What's the worst that could happen?" They said, "David, pack your bag, go home." But trust me, that was the turning point. And that's why I totally agree that you don't have to think that peace comes when you avoid life. Rather, you should learn to play some form of offense and defense. Back to you, the Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster David. That was wonderful. So at this point, we will round off the session. And I'd just like to say a big thank you to all my wonderful friends who did not let my village people shame me. Thank you, Toastmaster Uche, for actually emphasizing that peace starts with understanding. Toastmaster Tari for emphasizing that peace begins with a smile. And Toastmaster David for reminding us that sometimes peace comes through confrontation. Thank you very much, and Toastmaster of the Day, over to you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Tosin, for the table topic session. And thank you for ensuring that there was still amity, despite calling all the different table topic speakers. And thanks to all the speakers who gave us different perspectives on peace. It is now time for our evaluation sessions, and I'll be handing over to our general evaluator, Toastmaster David, to anchor this session. Toastmaster David, over to you.
Thank you, the ever bubbly Toastmaster Ese Ogene. You're doing an amazing job today. All right, by the agenda, just in case you have it, we should be having table topics evaluation, but because I understand that the Toastmaster in charge of that role is probably still collating our notes, I would like to skip and go to the next two evaluators. However, Toastmaster of the Day, are we voting for the best table topic speaker?
Yes, the polls will soon go on.
Okay, I would like for that to happen before we go into evaluating those speeches as well. Are we voting for the best speaker? We had just two. Are we doing that? No, we're not. Okay. All right, so please let's have the poll for the best table topic speaker. We had 3 speakers today. The last speaker was Toastmaster David Dokun. Before that, we had Toastmaster Tare. And before Toastmaster Tare, we had Toastmaster Uche. So we'll give a minute for the poll to come up.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. That was quite efficient. All right, I'm going to give, 15 seconds for everyone to vote. Whoever is back end, once you have at least, 60% of the audience voted, let me know so I can skip ahead into the evaluation. And I'm looking through the audience today and I'm wondering who's going to show us their face apart from the faces we've seen today. Who else is going to put their camera on and brighten the room so we can step out of the sea of black that we see, create more amity in this room. So Toastmaster, do you want us to go ahead with the evaluation now?
2% have voted.
82%.
52.
Okay, 52%. Okay, I'll give 10 more seconds. I'll ask Toastmaster Tosin to prepare to go ahead in a few seconds. It will be our first evaluator. You'll be evaluating Toastmaster Felicia Alamina's, what should I call it, masterclass on parenting. Toastmaster Felicia, did you note that people asked you for the slides in the comments? I believe that you opened those slides.
Yeah, I know that. Not a problem.
Thanks a lot. All right, by now I'm sure we're done voting. Toastmaster Tosin Olorunleke will be doing the honors of evaluating our first speaker today. And Toastmaster Tosin has been introduced already, and he will go ahead with that evaluation. Over to you, Toastmaster Tosin.
Please don't send the slides to anybody. I am your manager. If you want the slides, meet me. I'll give you the account details and then you'll get the slides.
I saw that coming, manager.
So parenting, that's something we're all familiar with. I mean, we've either been parented or we are currently parents or even both. So in all honesty, very few topics could have been more relevant than the one Toastmaster Felicia chose today. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Felicia. I personally thought your choice of topic today was spot on. So it was very relatable. You know, it was the first positive thing I actually noticed about that speech. And I think what that did for us was everyone was automatically interested in your speech. It was not something, you know, that was strange to certain people or just appealing to a sect of people. And I'm sure you could see that via the reactions in the chat box. Something else I noticed was you made references to your personal who you know, pose on the internet. It's easy to just come on the internet where few people know you or a small percentage of people know you and pretend to be an expert on a particular subject matter. But you actually making references to your personal experiences gave you some credibility. It's actually helped your audience to trust you. We knew you actually knew what you were talking about. And apart from making you, you know, more credible, it's also made you more relatable. We didn't see you as just trying to pass judgment or trying to be condescending. We could tell that you were basically just sharing your experiences and your learnings with us. So thank you as well for that. And you also engaged your audience. At the very beginning, you actually asked the question and asked the audience to respond in the chat box. Then at some point later on in the speech, you did the same thing when the slide on reflections came up. And I thought what this did was at the beginning, you caught our attention, we were tuned in, and later on, you made sure that we were still with you. That was perfect, Toastmaster Felicia. As regards areas for improvement, I noticed that the first thing you said when you came on the stage was, confirm I can share before I start. I'm treating you like a professional because Toastmaster Felicia, I think you are a professional at this point. And I would advise that going forward, maybe you get that sorted beforehand, just so it doesn't interfere with the content of your speech. Something else I noticed was your transitioning from slide to slide, particularly at the beginning of your speech. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yeah,
All right. All right, particularly at the beginning of your speech, I I think I would suggest that you could use questions for transitioning. An example would be, when you were transitioning from the slide on parenting styles to the slide on seasons, I think you could have asked the question like, is it possible to mix these styles, or are these different styles important at different points? And then you go on to tell us about the seasons. However, what you did was at the end of the slide on parenting styles, you use the word right, which in my opinion is sort of a pause filler, and we don't want to use that. It doesn't really have any business being in your speech. So I think as much as possible, you could try cut that out. I also noticed that, or I think rather, that you could be more intentional with your use of humor, particularly because this was a very relatable topic, and I thought there were many opportunities for that. An example would be digging into the stereotypes on African parenting and just, making contrasts as to bad and good parenting using those examples. With your acronyms, I love that you are the acronym queen, and I think you do it beautifully well. But a recommendation I have in this regard is perhaps you could try not to use too much. The purpose of acronyms is to get us to remember. However, by the time you use a lot of acronyms, you probably will mix them up or not even remember some of them. So what would my recommendation be here? It would be that you use it for maybe your most cogent points, or maybe towards the end of your speech when you're trying to make emphasis or drive home a point. And finally, I think you could have made some room for questions. This was a keynote speech with a lot of information, and we have a lot of parents here and even parents-to-be. I'm sure there are people with burning questions. As much as possible, when you deliver a keynote speech, please try to make some room for questions. But I thought the best part of your speech were your slides. They were beautiful, well-designed. You used them from the get-go. And basically, your use of elements, pictures, and even few words in the form of bullet points made sure that you were able to pack so much information within so little time.
Okay, Toastmaster Toastin, are you done? You sort of froze for a minute.
Yes, I am.
Oh, excellent. Thank you for that wonderful evaluation. I'll move along. I'm conscious of the fact that we are on the borderline as regards time. So I'd encourage evaluators to please be prompt as well. At this time, I'd like to invite Toastmaster Diteria DBC to evaluate our second speaker. Over to you, Toastmaster Tara.
Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator. So Toastmaster Essay, you're on the call, right? Yes, I see you. So Toastmaster Essay, thank you very much for that timely speech. It was really timely. Thank you. Hybrid living. That was the title of the speech, and it was a move for change. At least that's a project you're supposed to complete, a move for change. Like everyone knows Toastmaster Essie, I mean, she's not an amateur. I don't consider her an amateur anyway. She's an expert right now. And she has a way of delivering her speeches which are heartwarming. It's almost like you're listening to your friend giving you gist, the way she starts, the way she begins with a smile, her bubbly attitude, all that came into play today as well. It wasn't left out. She had a great introduction. And of course, like I said, sing song just like manner. And you kept, I feel that when you introduce yourself, the way you introduce your speech, the way you start off, actually tells whether people will actually remain with you or they leave you halfway there. So thank you for starting in a very interesting manner. Also, your use of quotes, from Barack Obama, and even bringing it down home to Nigeria, like saying things like, follow who know road. It helps connect to, everybody is not on the same level. I mean, let's face it, we're not all on the same level. And there are things people will hear you say that will actually endear you to them. So I think the mixture of both was actually very good and very endearing. You met the aim of that project by trying to convince us, or convincing us maybe, about the change we need to experience in Pecten Toastmasters, and that was really good. Your vocal inflections, your smile, like I said, your eye contact was obvious. You were looking into your camera. And if it was a face-to-face meeting, I'm sure you'd have also met the same criteria. All that were very good. The use of grammar was apt. We understood everything you were saying from the beginning to the end. What do I think, however, you could have done a bit better? What you could have done a bit better was perhaps pacing yourself a bit more. There is a tendency to rush off once you start. You just want to get to the end of the speech, or you want to beat the time. I think if you take deliberate pauses for instance, you will be able to pace yourself better, right? Even in engaging the audience, if you, for instance, put up or ask a question and ask people to give an answer in the chat box, it sort of helps you slow down what you want to say, or helps you slow down making your next point. And in a face-to-face meeting where you're using a physical lectern, you can make a point, you can move, then before you make another point. That way you also experience pauses. So I think that's one thing you can add to your speech next time. All in all, I think you did great. One important thing I take away from your speech is that it's great feedback actually for our club. Given this, it's actually ensuring that that speech is at stage and that message will act improvement and growth in the club. So thank you very much, Toastmaster Essie. Back to
well taken. Thank you, Toastmaster Tari, for that. And I'm going to hurriedly scamper off to the next evaluator, who by now I'm certain is ready. Toastmaster Joy Kuchi James, it's your turn to evaluate the table topics. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, General Evaluator. So I see that we're really pressed for time. So I have a very detailed evaluation here, but I'm just going to pick out key things that are most important. First, I'd like to say that Toastmaster Tosin did great with how he came up with those questions. I feel the questions were quite relatable and they relayed the message of the season, amity, peace. I see how from the first speaker up until the last, everything was just intertwined. That was great and was very creative and ingenious. Well done. First speaker's question or quote was, peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. And this quote is by Albert Einstein. And Uche, Toastmaster Uche, our president, answered that question or talked about that quote. He used a tested and trusted Toastmaster skill, which is repeating the question or repeating the quote after you're asked. I think that was well done. He also went straight ahead, something relatable, which was marriage, knowing fully well that he's our almost newlywed in the house. So I like how he connected it to his own situation. I like how he was cheeky about it. He said, men are from Venus, women are from Mars. He talked about rice and spaghetti. It was fun. I liked how he incorporated some fun into it. Although what I thought he would have done better was say something more personal. So you've talked about marriage. We're excited to hear something that connects with you personally in your own marriage, probably, or a friend's marriage. So it would have been nice to hear a personal story about marriage. I also wish that his video was brighter. It seemed a bit blur. I don't know if this was just on my end, but it seemed a bit blur when I look at it. All in all, it was a great speech. I loved how he spoke with passion, and I loved how he was very smart about it in the end when he almost forgot the quote. Next person was Toastmaster Tari. Her quote was, peace begins with a smile. Toastmaster Tari is an amazing Toastmaster. We've seen this over time. I like that she repeated her quote as well. She also asked a question at the beginning of the speech, which helped us to connect more. It kept us on our toes, like, okay, what's she going to say next? I like that as well. I liked the fire when she said something about how the woman was trying to test her. In my head, I'm like, amity in the mud. Who's talking about peace here? So I like that as well. I like that she gave us that nice, feisty thing to it. I also like that she repeated the quotes at the end. What I thought she would have done better was use more hand gestures, maybe a bit more vocal variety. That would have been lovely. Last person was Toastmaster David. His quote was, you cannot find peace by avoiding life. And that was by Virginia Woolf. In Toastmaster David's usual fashion, he's the coach. So he just started off by coaching us. I felt like I was in some webinar or something. He already started with, the very serious coach, bring out your pen and paper kind of thing, which was really nice. It's always refreshing to have someone come in here and make you learn a thing or two. I like that he used something relatable as well, which was football. He told a personal story, which is always a winner. What I thought he would have done better was maybe incorporate more vocal variety and more pizzazz to his speech. He seemed a bit, we could get the message, but it would have just been great if he added a bit more of that. I liked that he used some vocal variety when he was doing the monologue with his boss. I enjoyed the speech, and I congratulate everyone that gave a speech today. Well done, guys. Okay, I'm done. I think I've run out of time.
Yes, indeed, Toastmaster Kuchi, you've run out of time. You've run out of Zoom time. Please, can we have the poll for the evaluators come up real quick while my role players prepare to give their reports? No, not this one. I meant the poll for the, what should we call it now? For the evaluators, right?
Oh, we did not set polls. Apologies, GE.
Oh, you don't vote for evaluators,
No, we
right?
don't vote for evaluators.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so we'll move swiftly ahead to the other reports. Allow me to skip for the timing report. Toastmaster Essay, can you confirm that everyone stayed within time or we went over time? Just that bit.
Everyone for table topics went within time. Toastmaster Folu for her manual speech, 21 minutes, 34 seconds, also within time. For evaluations, Toastmaster Tosin and Joy went above time, 4:28 seconds, 3:48 seconds. Toastmaster Tari was within time. For my manual speech, Toastmaster Tosin, kindly confirm.
7:23, so you're within time.
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you for the high-speed recount. Toastmaster Uche was our counter and listening evaluator for today. Is going to give us a quick report of how we fared today. Toastmaster Uche, you have the virtual lectern.
All right, thank you so much, Toastmaster David, the general evaluator. Quick report. We didn't have a lot of people. I listened so keenly to hear a lot of people give, use crutches, but it was so difficult to find. And in fact, the first person I found that used a crutch was myself. And so I gave myself a 1. Every other person who I'm going to call their names actually had a tie with me. We had Toastmaster Joy, who used an air. We had Toastmaster Essay, who used a so. We had Toastmaster Fulu, who used a right. And we had Toastmaster Dokun, who used, oh, brilliant, as a crutch. So I would say we all had a tie. There was no winner. However, I'll just say a few things just to test your listening. And if I just ask a question or maybe just make a statement and you tell me who said it. I will start with asking you, who is the queen of acronyms? Who is the queen of acronyms?
Toastmaster Folu.
Who knows who that is? Toastmaster Folu. All right, who said, how can I help?
Toastmaster Essay.
Why would you answer your own question, Toastmaster Essay? Okay, who else said, I also have power to pick people?
Toastmaster Tosin.
Yeah.
That was easy. And the final would be, who said, I wear many hats? I wear many hats.
Toastmaster Essay.
That was, I wear many hats. Are you sure?
Yeah.
That was Toastmaster Folu. Yes, that was Toastmaster Folu. Thank you so much. Back to you, GE.
Wow, thank you, Toastmaster Uche. Oh, yes, and indeed, Toastmaster Essay also mentioned the fact that she's wearing multiple hats today. So yes. Our final role player today, Toastmaster Mina, you'd have a minute to give us your grammarian report.
All right. So quickly, I did not record any wrong use of English. However, I was able to pick up some excellent use of English. Tiamfolu used words as a metamorphorical toolbox, intricately braided, as they morph. Of course, she used the Johari window to describe self-awareness and our understanding of others. She used idioms like neat things on the board, paradox of failure, mistake, success, and victory. She used acronyms, the 3 C's, 3 D's, and 4 E's, caring, confident, and capable, daring, discipline, and decisive, and then environment, experience, education, and exposure. So TMAC also used words like mannerism and cues, habits of chairbencher, the allure of getting to connect. Uche used words like to the meat of the matter. Tari broker piece, and then TM David, broach situation. And I also liked one of his quotes. That's one of my best quotes, actually. The best way to defend is to attack, always, right? So for the manual speeches, TM Folu and TM Ese used the word of the day just once, while TM Folu unfortunately did not use the word of the day. And for the table topic speakers, TM Uche and TM Tari did not use the word of the day, while TM David used it just once. So I'm happy to see that fellow members are eager to use the word of the day, and I implore all to, as much as possible, use it frequently, and it will help improve our vocabulary. So thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster.
Over to you, Master. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm not going to attack you. I'm going to try to live in amity with you. All right, I mean, I'm literally out of time. I should give you a quick feedback on how today's meeting has gone. And of course, at this time, this feedback is for everyone in the club, whether you're an executive or a member or your guest, you can all apply this feedback. Meeting started on time. So kudos to everyone who was involved in planning this meeting. Timeliness is something we cannot afford to tinker with here at Toastmasters. I love the fact that there was a lot of awareness in terms of substituting the timer that was not available. Toastmaster Essie quickly stepped into that role, so there was no gap. Toastmaster of the Day did phenomenally well. I would like everyone to unmute themselves and say, well done, Toastmaster Essie. Well done, Toastmaster.
Well done, Toastmaster Essie.
Well done, well done, well done.
Well done. Well done. I mean, I could go on and on about how well you did today, but I don't have enough time. Maybe I'll give you some offline feedback, but indeed your energy was palpable. It, literally raised the ante, up the ante for the performance today, and kudos to you. For the role players today, I'd like to give quick feedback. Now, general feedback to the evaluators. I observed that, yes, we did use the sandwich approach to giving feedback to our speakers. However, it's important to be aware enough to give a summary at the end of your feedback. So you don't just end with just the high point of your commendation or recommendation. You do a quick recap of everything you've said on that comment or recommend. So that's important to mention. Another thing, I noticed that the timekeeper eventually came up with the slides. At the beginning, it was just green and yellow. I didn't see that slide thing pop up early. So I'm happy that that happened at the end. That was going to be feedback, but well done for bringing that to the fore. I love the way, the speakers in this club are very conscious of the use of language. I loved hearing things like Toastmaster Equichi say, "AMITY in the mud." I loved hearing the sing-song just like manner from Toastmaster Tare. Toastmaster Tosin, I should mention as well that your feedback to Toastmaster Folu was masterclass. You should probably listen to that. It was well delivered. It was compact. And a lot of things I wrote down here that I don't have enough time to go back on, but I would suggest in terms of improving our future meetings that we try to get to this part of the meeting earlier. Obviously, that's the biggest feedback I can give, to ensure that we get to this part of the meeting a lot earlier and not have to rush out, someone is, I'm not going to say what's on my mind, but let's not just rush out. Okay, all right, so thank you for having me here today. I'm going to relinquish the virtual lectern to the Toastmaster of the Day again, and I look forward to being back here to play some role in the future. Everyone have a great evening. Back to you, Toastmaster Essay.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster David. And Toastmaster David, we would appreciate if you give us, we welcome all your reports and feedback. You can always share it to us. You have your evaluation checklist. Please share it with us. We would make sure we normally just share it in our club so people can learn from it. We are very, very grateful for that very succinct and detailed feedback. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone. I know at one point we're up to 25 on the call. I see we're still up to 19. Apologies for the time constraints, but we're very grateful that you decided to ensure there was AMITY and you stayed with us up to this time. First off, before I hand over to the president, I'd like to share the results for the table topic session. Can we put our hands together for the best table topic speaker, Toastmaster Tari, our ever smiling, what's this? What else? Sing song like gist manna, Toastmaster
Oh my
Tari.
goodness, really?
Please put your hands together for her.
Gracias, thank you.
Thank you so much. Her quote by Mother Teresa and her speech was, the quote by Mother Teresa that she spoke on was really lovely. We're very proud of you and thank you for participating and winning our table topic session. To be honest, there might not have been AMITY if we allowed an outsider, Toastmaster David, win this. So I'm really very grateful that someone among us got it. Thank you all so much for helping or joining us in participating in today's session. I would now be handing over to our president. We've already gone through the guest welcome, but he's going to take us through any announcements and the tongue twister. Toastmaster Uche, I'm handing over the lectern to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Toastmaster SA. Please, can you unmute and give Toastmaster SA a resounding round of applause? This was well delivered. Thank you so much for putting this meeting together. We're pressed for time, just like Toastmaster David said, and we'll be happy if we're able to get to this part of the meeting really early. Thank you so much for all of the feedback we've gotten from you, Toastmaster David. We are grateful for using that outsider's eyes and also the experience of being a Toastmaster juggernaut, if I'll call it that, to evaluate how our meeting went today, and we'll take all of those things and improve our meetings. I really enjoyed the speeches for today. Thank you, Toastmaster Folu, for taking us on our masterclass, and Toastmaster SA for giving us a food for thought and things that we need to change very quickly within our club. A few announcements, a few housekeeping, I would say. The first is that there's a survey ongoing. We have this survey that we're doing to check the pulse of folks on in Pecten. And please, if you haven't participated in it, please go to the WhatsApp group, Toastmaster Joy. The VPPR will be sharing the link again. Kindly endeavor to respond. It's just for us to check areas that we are doing well and areas that we would need to do better, so that we can create, a very good ambience within the club to enable everyone achieve their speaking, communication, and leadership goals. Yeah, the final thing I would like to say would be for us to is a time for us to pay our dues. So if you are here and you haven't you haven't paid, we have our treasurer, I think she's on the call, Toastmaster Amara, or you can meet the vice president membership, that's Toastmaster Afoke. They will guide you, or any of the ESCOs really, they'll guide you on how to pay for the remainder of the Toastmasters year. This is very important because we need to keep the club afloat, and we need to have a good bulk of members who have paid, and the money goes straight to the center of Toastmasters. All right, so that would be all from me, but I'll just want to, before I maybe hand over to or end the meeting, I would like to just ask that we, let me just look. Okay, so I'd just like to ask that someone volunteers to be the Toastmaster of the day for next meeting. If we can get a volunteer from anyone here, we have so many people who have joined this meeting over and over. You can just try your hands at it. All you need to do is just raise your hand or type in the chat box that you will take it up, and we'll be glad to give you all the support you need. So anybody, really, this is not a very tough job. All you need to do is just coordinate, and you get all the help you need from experienced Toastmasters on the call. Do we have anybody raising their hands to volunteer? Interesting. Okay. All right. So, okay, is Tosin, are you raising your hand?
Yes, you showed AMITY during table topic, so let me show you AMITY now as well.
Oh wow, wow! That's great. So you can imagine we had Toastmaster Tari win the table topics session, not someone from outside, and we're now letting Toastmaster Tosin from outside of our club come to be the Toastmaster of the day in our next meeting. Thank you, Toastmaster Tosin, for raising your hand, and we'll be very happy. We know we're going to have a wonderful time in the next meeting where you'll be Toastmaster of the day. All right, so we'll just do the tongue twister, And I'd just like anybody who wants to volunteer to say this tongue twister to just, you can unmute or raise your hands, we'll call you, and then you say it. 4 furious friends fought for the phone. 4 furious friends fought for the phone. So if anybody could say it better than me, or maybe even worse, just put, you can raise your hand or unmute and just try it. Anybody? 4 furious friends fought for the phone. You have to say it twice as fast, or say that 3 times as fast as I did. 4 furious friends fought for the phone. So anybody? I'll call somebody. Let's say Toba. Toba, can you try it?
Okay, let me give it a try. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, 4 furious friends fought for the phone.
Can you take it a bit faster?
Fought for the phone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Any other person? Any other person, and then we'll call it a day.
I can also try.
All right, Moede.
Yeah. 4 furious friends fought for the phone. 4 furious friends fought for the phone.
Wow, thank you so much. I think it was far easier for you. Thank you so much for Toba and Moede for trying. Thank you everyone for joining today's meeting. I'll just ask the VPE, do we have any other announcements?
No announcements.
All right, thank you so much everybody, and have a wonderful evening ahead. See you at our next meeting where Tosin will be our Toastmaster of the day. Bye.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for
joining.
participating.
Bye,
Bye. Thanks, TM Toba, TM Moede, TM Ayula,
Toastmaster Humphrey, I
Kari,
see you.
TM
Toastmaster
Opri,
Ngozi,
TM
hi.
Kewe,
Bye.
TM
I see
Abiodun,
you.
TM Ungazi. So nice to see you. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Okay.